Everybody got a podcast. Everybody is a critic, but nobody will admit it. Everybody going live now. Everybody want it right now. Click the link up in the bio. Everybody got a new line. Everybody is offended. Give a fuck in your opinion. Everybody.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The idea of taking a movie, it's like redoing The Crow. Leave it the fuck alone, dude.
I remember a point in time right before the fifth Phantasm movie came out, maybe 5-10 years before it, and New Line Cinemas acquired the rights to not only reboot the franchise, but let Don Coscarelli make the fifth Phantasm as he wanted to do it. And the deal fell through, but I remember reading that they had it mapped out to do like 4 brand new reboots under New Line, and I'm like, of all the movies that I'm so grateful that it fell through on, that's one of them. Because as much as I like New Line hasn't made good horror movies since like the early to mid 90s, in my opinion. Like most of the shit has been garbage. It's not the way it was.
The Scream franchise was good, and I'll leave it at that.
I was looking over at this camera to give you the evil eye, and I forgot it's this camera.
Look, you don't like the Scream movies?
I enjoyed the first Scream movie when I saw it. I was one of those Scream nerds who, like, when I first started getting into films and editing and stuff like that, and high school audio visual, like, everything that I made was a Scream ripoff. I have a Scream movie I filmed at 99X when it was behind Ben & Jerry's, and I had a cast of people from Riverdale, and I had Mark Davis, Bill Nord, there was a bunch of local bands that I had playing outside the courtyard back behind Ben & Jerry's for this particular event, and we ended up just throwing a free punk rock show, but we used it to film a fucking Scream, this stupid Scream movie that I just filmed as I went along with. I have that somewhere. It's fucking garbage. Now, that said, at the time, yeah, fucking thought it was great. You know what else I thought was great at the time? Austin Powers. Have you watched Austin Powers lately? I have.
No, but I have rewatched Scream.
Okay. You and I are different people, because I know if I rewatch Scream, I'm not going to like it. It's not going to be the same. I rewatched it a few years back. I can't.
Scream holds up, and I really like. I think my second favorite Scream was Scream 4.
There's a 4th Scream.
Yeah, and Scream 5 comes out next year. It's just called Scream.
Okay. Scream.
But you also love Death Proof and Planet Terror, which I had no interest in.
You said had no interest. Does that mean you didn't watch them?
No, not at all. Had no interest at all.
Then you don't get to say anything.
I get to say plenty. I had no interest.
You had no interest, but if you didn't see them, you don't know that they're not good or not.
Did you see Scream 4?
I didn't know there was a Scream 4. I had no idea there was until you just mentioned it.
But you just shook your head saying, "Oh my God, there's a Scream 4." So
yeah,
it's the same
I was
thing.
I was shaking my head in defiance of why is there a Scream 5? Why do we need a Scream 5? And
why don't we need a Scream 5?
The best,
fuck off.
Fuck you. The best part of Scream,
No,
I'll give you this.
you.
The only part of Scream that holds up, the only part is Matthew Lillard's performance. That's it. That's the only thing. Did I just make
off. So, I guess we'll start with a welcoming.
Okay.
I'd like to welcome my friend Josh Eppard, aka Weerd Science.
Wait, are we starting? This is like we're jumping right in.
Oh, whatever. We record from the beginning, dude.
Josh, I had no part of this. This is all Bob. I had no part of this. We do what you want,
fuck
man.
off.
No, I like that. That's super gangster. I'm into it. Just jump right in. Let's go for it.
Yeah, basically, at some point, Doug is going to ask for like a tour of your movie room so he can see all your cool shit.
I was actually going to see when you guys go on tour if you could add a PS5 to your writer for me and him.
Yeah, you got it. No problem. Claudia would love that too, I'm sure. Oh, I don't play video games anymore. But when I was a kid, I was in the Nintendo Power Club, and we would like write the magazine. We had our own little club. It's actually odd that I don't play. When I got hooked on drugs, nothing else mattered but drugs, and like video games passed me by. Now I feel like I'm operating a fucking spacecraft when I sit down and hold the control. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm always a little envious and a little jealous of people that are still into video games. They looks like fun to me, but it's just kind of passed me by. But I applaud you guys in your video game playing. I really do. I'm envious.
I don't applaud the fact that now we pay $70 per game to buy a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
In my particular case, though, a lot like you, I got clean myself 4 years back, and like that kind of took that and exercise kind of took over that need
I know
to do shit.
about it.
Yeah. So that's why I still fuck with them.
Well, can I ask you, what'd you get clean from, if you don't mind me asking?
Where do we start? Started with hydrocodone on a doctor's prescription, and that lasted 5 years before I grew a tolerance, and then they bumped it up to 850 milligram. And at that point, our governor of Florida signed a thing where, like, if you were going to be on controlled substances, you needed to get a drug tested. And my doctor didn't want to go through the process of drug testing, so I got shifted over to pain management, where they put me on, I think I was on hydrocodone for a little bit, then they put me on Suboxone, and then I had friends of mine, when I was running out of that shit, they were just giving me Dilaudid and Opana and shit, so kind of everything. If you're asking me what my favorite was, fucking Dilaudid, if I'm choosing, but...
Yeah, but you never, like, shot dope or anything.
Snorted it. Straight snort and swallow. I could never. I boofed a couple times. I'm not putting that in the podcast. But,
you talking about cramming?
Yeah, I put shit up my ass, man. Don't fucking look at me sideways.
I'm not judging you. I had a friend who strictly did ecstasy that way. It's the only way he would do it.
Are you kidding me?
Dead serious.
Wait a second.
It's supposed to hit the nerve endings faster. That's all I know.
I've heard that, but I've never actually met someone. So what? You would stick pills up your ass?
Yeah, I've put Dilaudid and Opanas up my ass before.
What happens if you got a shit, though?
Yeah, like what happens if you shit and you shit out the pill? Do you have to like go finish your last one? Do you have to go searching through your shit to find it?
I never had that problem because I was on so much shit that I was shitting like once.
You couldn't shit.
Every 2 weeks I would drop a log, and I'm not kidding. It massive. So I never had the problem of worrying about shitting. I just tried it a few times, and to me it was, I don't know, it wasn't as good as snorting it, in my opinion. But I mean, it took effect. It just took a little bit longer. But I don't know. Everybody kept telling me it's going to feel so much more amazing. You crush it up and water it down, and blood vessels will get it. And it's like, okay. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I had a problem putting my finger up my ass, but it's like I'd rather just snort it.
I lived with you long enough. I guarantee you, I know that you didn't have a problem putting your finger up your ass.
Okay.
Did you, any friends of yours, anyone you know, ever have what I've heard, at least in New York, I might be even saying this wrong, called a Yankee baby, and it's where you go, 30 days without shitting from opiates, and then you literally deliver a child out of your ass. And a lot of people end up in the hospital from ripping themselves. And this is anyone listening out there. This is reason enough, as if there's not a million other reasons. This is reason enough to not do drugs. Once you start doing opiates every day, you literally do not shit. I swear I must have gone 30 days without shitting. And I don't know. Oh, you talked about putting a finger up your ass. The only way I was able to avoid having to go to the hospital was I lubed up my ass and put my finger up, and I chip off rock-hard pieces of poop for hours. Blood, like a mucusy, weird, bloody mix. And the shit, here's what really fucked me up. It smelled old. Like, this should have been out of my body a month ago. As if that's not I didn't know that was part of the opiates. It wouldn't have stopped me, but...
My doctor had me start keeping literally a log for my logs. I couldn't think of another pun to come up with it, but I literally would keep... That's how I figured out it was 2 weeks at a clip, man, because I was, like, eating... And that's the other thing. I dropped a bunch of weight without even realizing it. People started telling me, like, yeah, you're looking really good, and it just didn't register to me, and I'm like, well, I'm not shitting. All I'm doing is getting high all the time and smoking cigarettes. So yeah, maybe I am losing weight, but yeah,
I lost weight at first too, and this happens to a lot of junkies. Like the kind of television version is skinny, frail, falling asleep, and that did kind of happen to me. I got really skin and sunk it in, then gained triple the weight that I lost, and that happens to a lot of junkies that I know. But God, it's like, who would be so stupid to get hooked on opiates, man? It's like. I don't mean to laugh as if it's like a funny thing, It's like, duh, what was I fucking thinking? Like looking back now, it's like, how could I have been so stupid? But I was.
How long you been clean, may I ask?
God, 10 years, over 10 years.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And I can laugh at these stories, but I hope people know it's not funny. You know, it's like, we can laugh about like the sheer absurdity of it, but I'm not laughing as in it's cool. Obviously, sometimes yeah, like, but it's funny how we're here still, and I'm sure we all know a lot of people that aren't, and there's a touch of like survivor's guilt that comes along with it. But if you can't laugh at the sheer absurdity of it, then what can you do? That's how I get by. So I'm not laughing as in it's cool or anything, but I know you guys get it. I mean, for anybody listening, I wouldn't want it to be misconstrued.
Back when I lived with Doug, second time, I was dating this girl who had a pretty bad problem with pills. Like, I was given a 90-day prescription to pain pills, and she would go through them in like fucking 2 days.
Yeah, I was the same.
And I was just like, I don't know what to help. I can't help you now, so it's all you.
Well, the thing dude, your tolerance, at least in my case, at least in the case of my friends, it would go up daily. I mean, every 3 days you had to take more. I mean, by the end, I was bummed out to get a script of 90 Percocet 10s because I would literally eat 60 in a sitting. Like, basically begging. I kid you not. That's not a number that's inflated and, like somehow I think it's cool. Yo, bro, that's really what I did. I ate 60 Percocet 10s and it didn't get me high. It got me not sick. Then it got me really sick. And I probably should have gone to the hospital. I don't know how I'm alive. Honest to God, I do not. Now, you can't eat 60 in one, but I'd eat 10, 10. All in 5 minutes time. Because I was probably, not to get ultra dark, but I was probably trying to die. I had assumed I couldn't get a job because I was levied by the IRS. My band hated me. The people that were good people in my life had washed their hands of me. And I think that lyric in that Weerd Science song, I used to leave suicide notes next to me when I sleep. I'd rather people think I killed myself than went in OD. The very real lyric. Like, I have the notebook still. I could probably find it, honestly. I might take some digging, but it's just suicide note after suicide note because I was such a fucking moron that I was like, well, I'll trick people. At least if they think it's on purpose, there's some kind of, I don't know, it validates it somehow, but maybe I'm sure happy to be here. It spins out of control so fast. So that girl that was going through those pills in 2 days, what must her tolerance have been like?
Right.
She's at the door of not being able to fix herself. Like, you can't get high. You can't fix up. You can't even get right. And that's when it turned to heroin, which I quickly realized Dilaudid and Oxycontin was equally as strong as heroin. I mean, it was the same exact. I was thanking God that day. Oh my God, a cheaper way to get high. Thank you. And then that spins out of control. All of a sudden it's, $1,000 worth of dope a day just to get by. And it's been so far out of control. And there's no reason for me to be alive. I know kids that died from doing $60 worth. And here I am. It's really, or I did die. And we all died. And this is some kind of version of, weird version of heaven for us.
I was exactly the same as this girl he's talking about, man. We had a friend, Skylar, who was on the podcast the other day. Skylar, I remember coming in our home. He had a tooth surgery, and I remember he'd had 6 Vicodins sitting in a bottle on a shelf in his house with his fiance for like 6 or 7 months, and he wasn't fucking with them.
Yeah. And
I remember, like you said, at certain point, it's not about getting high. It's about not fucking hurting anymore, And,
yeah.
And I remember calling him and saying, like, hey, I don't mean to be an asshole. You guys are coming over for dinner later. Do you still have those 6 Vicodins? He's like, yeah, man, why? He's like, do you want them? I'm like, do you mind? He's like, no. And I remember him bringing those into me, popping the bottle off, and in front of him and his fiance just swallowing all 6 with a Diet Coke, and he just slack-jawed staring at me like, what the fuck, dude? I'm like, dude, you have no idea. This will barely do anything to me, I promise. It'll make me feel normal for about an hour or two.
And see,
how fucked up is that?
I never had that with pills, but I was that way when I was drinking. Like, I was that guy who would sit and pour 26 shots of whiskey straight. Boom, 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 boom. I realized you should probably stop fucking drinking.
Yeah.
You're going to die. You know?
Drinking's the most evil one of them all, dude.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's what happened when I got back here. I got clean when I moved back here like 3 or 4 years ago, and I went right from that to not knowing anybody. And that's the one thing I don't know if you had the same thing getting clean. By the way, everybody, if anybody's watching, this is Josh Eppard from Weerd Science. And Coheed and Cambria. I love Weerd Science. I'm a big Weerd Science champion.
Yeah, word. That's awesome.
What the fuck was I saying, Bob? Jesus Christ, I lost.
You were
myself.
talking about how you stopped getting high and started drinking and didn't know.
Oh
anybody
yeah,
that.
like I don't know if this is the same for you, but like when I get I also lost my memory too. When I got clean, like I didn't know anybody, and I don't know if it was the same for you, but like I started having to learn how to like deal with my emotions again. I'd spent 12 years numbing that shit out. Like I started crying at the weirdest shit, man.
I call it pregnant woman syndrome, where you basically turn into a pregnant woman. Like you cry at a tennis commercial. Yeah, it's a really powerful thing to kind of re-engage your feelings, and you're like a newborn baby in a way. But dude, I feel you 100%. I know exactly what it was. I'm kind of still going through it. You know, I'm still learning about myself. Well, I guess we all are, but yeah, having numbed for so long, kind of re-engaging the world. All my friends were gone. I lived in a strange place. It was a really dark period. And God, one that I don't want to go through again. I'm so happy to be here right now. I'm so happy you're there right now, and you're there right now. I'm pointing at Doug and Bob, respectively. And yeah, we're really fucking lucky. We're lucky that we're breathing because, like I mentioned before, I'm sure we all know a few people that aren't. So we're really lucky to be here.
We do, man. I'm absolutely grateful to have you on and finally be able to meet you, man. There's so many different things that I absolutely love about you, man, and want to hear about and stories. Seriously, like, I can honestly tell you, like, it was like this with when Tom was on with us last week. Like, because Chemical Imbalance to me is very much, along with Sick Kids, got me through a lot of shit, man. And I'm sure you've heard that a lot, and that's cool, man. That's what it's there for, man. But, like, I feel like I have this opportunity, so I'm going to say personally, the way I did to him, thank you, man. Like, you have no idea. I'm sure you have some idea, but, like, Drugs 2.0 particular, like, when there's a fucking bar in that song, man. Kids go to the doctor, hooked on Oxycontin. Now they go to the doctor, they're hooked on Suboxone. I remember listening to that when I was hooked on Suboxone. I'm like, holy fuck, he's speaking to me, man. Like that shit really. 10 Smack Commandments, like all of that shit, man. Is like I didn't realize I didn't want to get clean. I had to like fool myself into leaving Florida to realize I had a fucking problem. How bad my problem was, you know.
Me too. My wife dragged me out of Kingston, New York. And Kingston's a fine place to grow up. Like it's like anywhere. If you're going to get in trouble, you know where to get in trouble. If you're going to dip and hang out with creative people and have like a fulfilling and fruitful life, you can certainly do that in Kingston. So this isn't really like a knock on Kingston. It's just that was my hometown. I knew where to get in trouble. My wife dragged me to Albany. It's only an hour away, but might as well have been fucking Zimbabwe. I had no car, no money, and I was outside of my element. And really, it was the catalyst that saved my life. Like, I don't know if I would have ever gotten my head on straight if I didn't get dragged to Albany. And she dragged me up here basically kicking and screaming. But it sounds similar to your story.
Yeah. And it's funny how that happens. And when I think about it now, it's like we talk about the people that I hope are with us and the people I know aren't with us because of this stuff. And it's just one of those things where it's like you hear people say like I wish they'd get better. It's like the reality is like until you don't really know that you have a problem. Like you have to. People say like you got to want to get better, and there's a part of truth to that. But like you also need to like really have people in your life telling you you've got shit going on. Unless you're just lucky enough to like not want to die. I think ultimately that was my saving grace. Was like it felt like every day was exactly the same. My boss of 12 years is my guardian angel. The fact that she never gave up on me and never fired me and understood what the fuck was going on and kind of helped me through it.
Wow.
It's crazy. But Bob, I'm sorry. I'm taking up. I mean, we're here for a while, but like, yeah, I'll let Bob go for a while.
It's all good, man. I mean, Josh and we became friends. I don't remember how many years ago now. And it started with I had gotten in shape, he had gotten in shape, and we just started talking over that. And then we just became friends as time went on. And when we went running together for the first time, I realized Josh is a much, much faster runner than I am.
Not no more.
Yeah, dude. And the last time I saw you guys, it was the second anniversary of the day my dad died. And I was not extremely close to my father, as anyone knows, but that whole way there, the light in the glass was stuck in my head. And I'm like, I know they're not going to play it, but I'm going to at least ask because I'm never that kind of guy, but I'm going to ask. Because there was just something cathartic about hearing the line, your father's dead, he passed in his sleep.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
It's weird, man, because, you know, I know you've lost your mother, and you were much closer to your mother than I was my father, but like you mentioned the other day, there are times like I'll just sit there and realize, oh yeah, he's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like you just sit there like, oh, I'd like to tell. Oh yeah, I can't tell him that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just like driving in your car, fucking.
Yeah.
And then, oh shit, it's like getting
Yeah.
punched in the stomach. And you know, I've talked to a few people that have lost parents, and like some of them have a similar story. Hey, I wasn't close. I almost feel like, in a sense, that might be even more painful. You know, it's like me and my mother's relationship wasn't like hunky dory by any stretch. It was like kind of fucked up, but you know, not in my adulthood. Like, you know, I don't know if my mom was really capable of being close with me as an adult. She had harbored a lot of resentment towards me, towards Coheed. And I don't want to I'm not bad mouthing her. I think me and my brother came up in a band together. We signed a major label record deal. I mean, 99% of bands don't get to that level. We did it, you know, at like 19 years old and 16 years old, respectively. And my mom had all these hopes and dreams tied up into the band. I quit the band, joined another band, and when that band had success, I do think my mom, like, resented that. I think that's fair to say. I don't think I'm saying anything that's, like, way out of pocket here. I know she did. And it just created, like, a weird dynamic. It really did. And, like, you know, especially, like, when Coheed had, like, extended such, like, opportunity to 3, and, like, our relationship was terrific. 3 and Coheed. We used to share a rehearsal. Like, there was never any of that, like, weirdness between us. So it was strange to have it coming from my mom. And I'm just not sure that we ever fully got over. I'm not sure I ever fully got over. I can relate to, like, the relationship being strained in certain ways. But I did, you know, I really loved my mom. And she was a gentle, sweet lady. And like most people that lose a parent, it's fucked up that she's gone. I don't know a better way to say it, a more articulate way to say it. It's fucked up that she's gone.
No, I totally get it, man. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there parts of Dust of My Dad's Dreams are about that, correct?
Oh, yeah. I think, you know, my dad was our manager, along with Michael Lang from Woodstock 99 and Michael Birnbaum, who went on to produce, like, you know, 5 Coheed records. That was my managers when I was in 3 with my brother. I think there was a lot of, like, adults. Dude, they're our parents. Of course they had big dreams for us. And, like, if you can imagine, like, the amount of time and energy and money and it's just everything spent. And when I say money, I grew up the real deal poor. Not when you hear these motherfuckers say, like, oh, I grew up poor, and then you see a picture of their house and you're like, that's a fucking 2,000 square foot. Like, you know, We grew up poor. And my dad really, like, worked hard to try to get the band opportunities. And, of course, he had his own dreams kind of tied into ours. And maybe I, you know, shattered that in a way for him by leaving the band. And the band wasn't what I wanted it to be. You have to understand, it was as big a deal as when I quit Coheed, leaving 3. It was my whole life was this band. And to walk away, it was a divorce, but with my brother and me and Joey handled it as well as 2 people could. You know, it's like there was some hurtful stuff for me. I don't think anybody thought. I really think people thought that I would end up dead or in jail. You know, it's like that was my trajectory. I was a foul-mouthed little Kingston kid, punk motherfucker, and no, I went and joined a fucking band that I don't think a lot of people thought was going to be successful by any means, and. You know, here we are 20 years later, and I think that shocked a lot of people, and there was probably some resentment, like, within the family about it. But, you know, at the same time, I don't want to, like, water down. You know, when I first split from Coheed, my mom did say to me, she said, who am I going to brag to all my friends about? She meant it in a nice way. It's not like she was never supportive. But, like, now that she's gone, sometimes I think to myself, like, holy shit, she never came to see us play. Like, my father would correct me. She came to see us once. It was when Joey was opening up. You know, the whole family came, but my mom never came to see Coheed play, like, without my brother there. Which, you know, I don't even know if it bothers me anymore. It's just something I've had to absorb, and, like, but of course it stung for a long time. You know, it's just one of those weird things that I'll never get to really reconcile. And I would try when she was sick. You know, she she got Alzheimer's young, man. Like, I mean, she was 64 when she died. She was diagnosed at 58, and she was long past a diagnosis. I think we're all kind of guilty of, that's mom, but like it got to the point where it's like, oh God, something's really wrong. She's just insanely young for her to succumb to that disease. Like, so I tried to talk to her about this stuff, but she didn't know what the fuck was going on. And like, maybe it was cathartic on my end just to express it.
Sure.
As an adult, as this version of myself, you know, I put my mother through hell. I'd like to say that too. It's not like I was an angel. I was a bad kid. Like I was, well, no worse than most boys. I think I never ended up in juvie. I did get arrested quite a few times, but my record's pretty clean. Nothing too crazy. I got arrested for kidnapping once. It was a joke. It was a fucking joke. It was years before Jackass. We were fucking with people. It was we were kidnapping our friend, and we'd duct tape him up, and we'd stop at a red light and pop the trunk from the inside. So imagine you're at a red light, and the car in front of you, the trunk opens, and a guy with duct tape around his mouth, around his hands, starts squirming out of the trunk, and then Kwame hops out and like throws him back in it. We're all beating him, and Kwame stares at the cars. You didn't see nothing. You didn't see nothing. Meanwhile, when we get arrested, the victim, the kidnapping victim, is driving. We're fucking with people. But I got arrested for that. That wasn't good because the story got blown way out of proportion. By the next week, it was like, did you hear Josh is in federal prison for murder? It was like the story got blown so far out of like perspective and just way out of control. But yeah, parent stuff, just to dial it back here, parent stuff is deep, man. It's deep that you lost your dad. And I think that, like, I don't know, I can really relate to like unresolved things kind of bubbling and how that can be even more hurtful. And I think it's probably something all people have with their parents. I don't know anybody's relationship that's perfect with their parents.
No.
So.
You know, you telling that story, I'm picturing it. I met Kwame once back in 2004. Kwame is not a little human being.
No.
You know, he is a fucking giant. I mean, that was the same night that I met, and this is one of my favorite celebrity encounters. I didn't get to meet you that night. I met Mike Todd, which was cool. But then I met Matt Pinfield that night.
Yeah.
And Matt Pinfield was like a personal hero of mine.
Oh, it's awesome.
And that motherfucker talked to me for almost 3 hours straight after the show. And I was
Sounds like Matt, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is amazing. I'm like, he's not going to remember any of this. But to me, it was just such a cool thing to have happen. And he's just... And just like Matt Pinfield, he did find a way to work Pavement into the conversation at one point. Because Matt Pinfield loves Pavement. And
you know what's fucked up about Matt, dude? If you saw him again in 2021...
he does not look the same at all.
Oh, no, he doesn't at all. But if you're like, hey, you probably don't remember me, I've seen it happen. Matt will be like, Florida, outside the House of Blues, 2004. We talked about Pavement. And then he'll talk about Pavement for another 3 hours.
Dude, that's as good as when Ben Stiller did his impression of Matt Pinfield on the MTV Awards.
Oh shit, I remember that. That's
where he's like talking to Steven Tyler, and Steven Tyler's like, my first band was such and such. He's like, no, it wasn't. Your first band was such and such with your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're right, Matt Pinfield. How could I have forgotten that?
Dude, Matt is an amazing encyclopedia of rock and roll. It's really, truly incredible. And no, I'm so glad that Matt is somebody that we came across and like made, you know, a lasting friendship with. Matt texted me today. It's funny that you bring him up.
That's hilarious, dude.
That would be a guy to get on the show as well.
I would
hear him tell
kill
stories
to
about
have
music.
Matt Pinfield.
Yeah, I hope you guys have 8 hours.
Dude, I'll take some time off.
I would sit for 8 hours for that, dude. He sat there and he told me he was going through a divorce. And he started listing off one by one the records his ex took from him.
Yeah.
He's like, and then there was this one, and there was this one, and there was this Sun Records original test pressing, and I'm like, what the fuck? He has lived such an interesting life. You know what I mean? Like,
totally, yeah, totally.
I don't know if Matt has any musical talent. I have no musical talent, but I love music. And we just had Jay from OL on the other day. To prove how little musical talent I have, Jay was trying to get me to sing with him. And I'm like, Jay, this is a bad idea. And he's like, yep, you are completely tone deaf. I'm like, yeah, I know. I cannot sing, dude. I hear the note, and it sounds like that coming out of my mouth, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, story of my life. What are you talking about? Like, singing's hard, man. Like,
Yeah, but you can actually do it. Like, you play piano, you play drums, you play guitar. And speaking of, 2 things happened yesterday that I'm going to bring up. One, I'm glad you finally claimed clean to everybody and let everyone know that you had been dyeing your hair gray all those years.
yeah.
Secondly, something else happened yesterday. Ern said the final Weerd Science performance is going to be on that cruise. What's up with that?
Yeah, this will be the last Weerd Science performance, I think. It's just not.
Motherfucker.
Well, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe it'll be like Jay-Z retiring, and a year later I'll be like, psych!
Hey!
Well, since I never got to see it perform live under Weerd Science, man, film it and put out a DVD or something so I can at least see that.
You're not missing much, believe me.
Dude,
Oh,
I had
man.
a blast seeing you live, dude. And I talked to Upgrade when he was on here. I said, "Hey,
Oh boy.
I'm going to ask you about that project." And he's like, "I can't say much. If Josh fucks it up, he can fuck it up all he wants. I don't know what I'm allowed to say." I'm like,
Well, Upgrade-
it's been a year.
Yeah, Upgrade is just like a prolific writer. I used to be too, man. I used to sit down and write 4 songs a night. I just don't, I never was able to really like fake this. And that's not like some kind of me trying to dial up like a passionate answer. That's really the truth. I never was able to fake this. So it's a different thing. I remember 50 Cent talking about like his 3rd record, like having writer's block. I wouldn't say I have writer's block. I'd say I just don't really want to do it anymore. Which is a harsh thing to say, but God, it's the truth. And like, if it's not real, I mean, me and Upgrade had a session at the house and we recorded a bunch of stuff. I liked everything I wrote. I liked everything I did. Like, there's good stuff, but I'm just not that passionate about it anymore, which is a sad thing. I wish I was, but I just don't know how to, like, maybe one day I will be. And that'll be the day that I'll say psych about the last Weerd Science show. But as of right now, yeah, I think it probably will be the last one ever. It's just not something I said what I said. I don't really listen to hip hop music anymore. I listen to the old records. Like, I'm not into like a lot of new stuff. It's for the kids. Like, and I respect that. Like, it's not for me anymore. And
Right.
I don't think everyone at 41 is aged out. I don't have the energy to like try to like earn respect as an MC. I don't have the energy to like. I'm just not mad anymore, man. I'm just not angry anymore.
So that brings me to, I guess it's 2 questions that come into one. You both know MC Chris.
I don't. I know MC Lars.
Sorry, MC
I love
Lars.
MC Chris. Don't get me wrong. Love that.
Was
guy.
it MC Lars or MC Chris? The story with the Less Than Jake, the sick kid story.
Oh, that was with MC Lars, and Lars was really good friends with them. We went up on stage with them, and like I was supposed to go up again, and all my friends were there. I was like, "Oh, watch this! I'm gonna go up with Less Than Jake." And like I'm walking up to the stage, and they're like, "Nah, dude, we're good. We don't want you up on stage." And I was like heartbroken, And the word is that they saw my record cover for Sick Kids, and they were like, "Nope, this dude's not coming up on stage." But I actually talked to Vinny from Less Than Jake, who's awesome. And Vinny
Vinny's a great guy.
Vinny's the best, dude. He did a podcast I was trying to do, and he did a show, sat with us for like 90 minutes. And Vinny was like, "No, dude, like, honestly, like, we thought it was going to be this one thing, and then we've got 2 rappers up there, and we just were like, well, this is kind of stupid." And I was like, "Oh, agreed. It was fucking stupid." But it was kind of cool to like put that to bed, because I'd always like, God, really? Like, those dudes it's Less Than Jake. Like, I would think they would get the kind of, it was like purposely inflammatory, a picture of a child, dude. But it's a statement. I mean, it's a piece of art. I'm not suggesting let's go give 5-year-olds cocaine. Like, dude, you would be surprised how many people didn't get that. Like, you would be surprised about that video I made yesterday where I'm clearly joking. I haven't been dyeing my hair gray. I'm clearly joking. How many people today were like, "So, wow, you've been dyeing your hair gray the whole time." And I'm like, holy shit, are you fucking serious, dude? That's a joke. Like, I winked at and clearly it's a joke, but you can't underestimate, like, how hard you sell something. And, like, sometimes people, they take you at your word. They're nice people. But that Sick Kids cover, like, people were not into it. And, like, that was a strange time on Warped Tour. Like, performing as Weerd Science was probably the highlight of it, honestly. So I'll always have that.
Yeah, when you first told me the story, I remember, like, I know the guys from Less Than Jake fairly well over the years, and I was like, that's an odd thing for them to be upset about. Yeah, it's so different now with Vinny not being in the band, and, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he was their major songwriter and lyricist for their entire career until this last album.
That's what we talked about on my podcast. I was doing a podcast called The Departed, and it was about, because people say, well, what are you passionate? What turns you on, right? And I said, well, God, I have this like experience of like being in a band, and then the experience of not being in that band, and it's a really powerful experience. It's like a hard thing to go through, and I wanted to talk to other people, guys, girls, not just in bands, actors that were removed from roles, producers that were kicked off of records. I'd love to talk to Mark Trombino about not getting that next Jimmy Eat World record. But I couldn't get anybody to do the show. I did an episode with Eddie Reyes. I did an episode with Fred Mascherino, both from Take Back Sunday. I did an episode with Vinny. I think we did one other episode, and I can't even remember who it was. We couldn't get Bob Breyer from My Chemical Romance, and I love Bob. God, that was going to be like the flagship episode. And then I was going to try to do one with Mike Todd. I thought that would have been...
That would have been cool.
Riveting, yeah. And like, Bob said, yes, we're rocking and rolling. I'm spending money on this thing. And then Bob's like, nope, can't do it. And I'm like, oh. But I have to respect Bob. And it wasn't a shit talk fest by any means. Not at all. It was just about his experience and the hurt that I still think, I hope I'm not breaching any trust. I still think anyone who's left a band of My Chemical Romance's stature, like, it hurts for a long time. I'm not sure he's over it. He might be. I don't know. We never did the interview.
My wife is one of the biggest My Kim fans ever, and she as a fan was crushed when he was no longer part of the band. It's kind of the way a lot of us felt when you were no longer in Coheed.
Yeah,
because I saw Coheed on those years when you weren't there, and it wasn't the same.
And I've never seen Coheed without you. I've only seen Coheed 2 or 3 times, I think, and every time was with you. I saw you guys once when you were just getting ready to tour in Keeping Secrets, and then
with Thursday and AFI.
Thursday AFI, and I want to say there was another band at that show. And then once with Bob at was it Hard Rock? We saw the MTV Nokia thing.
The MTV taping.
Yeah, which I fucking wanted to punch every producer on fucking stage. It was so goddamn annoying as a fan.
Why? What happened? I don't remember.
Well, they just had you guys they're like, okay, the band's getting ready to come out. We want you all to scream, and we're like, we're gonna do that anyway.
All right, we're gonna we're gonna record them playing these lyrics. Okay, now these are the lyrics. Go ahead and sing along with them. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, we're here for a reason. We don't need to be told what the fucking lyrics are.
I don't even remember that. I was on a lot of drugs. I don't remember any of that.
I remember throwing Doug on the ground as the camera passed by because I was hoping it would get on film.
Yeah, that felt great. I remember that now.
Why didn't it make? I would think that would make it.
I don't know, man. I was really bummed. But who wants to see 2 fat guys throwing each other around? You know, it just.
I do. Hey, let me tell you guys, Bob and Doug. You guys think that was weird for you in the audience? I guarantee you, it was a lot weirder for us on stage, man. Like, it's not like we're used to that. And I do have a vague memory of being like, "Oh, that was fucking weird, man." Like, you know, I don't remember the ins and outs. It was forever ago. Drugs or not, it's forever ago, and I play a lot of shows, but. I do remember anytime a TV taping happened being like, oh, that's how they do it? Why don't we just go play the show and they film it? Like, what's wrong with that? But
the week before you guys did that show, a friend of mine had went to another MTV taping. It was for The Killers. And they had the Killers start and stop Mr. Brightside 3 different times, so much so that the drummer got pissed, knocked over his kit, and left. He's like, fuck this, man. He's like, we know how to play our fucking song. I don't care what reaction the audience is giving you. We just want to play.
Man, that's how you know the Killers drummer owns a piece of the band. Because, like, no drummer that wasn't, like, a founding member or owns a piece of the band would be doing shit like that. That's awesome. I love
he's
that
like,
drummer.
fuck this. Yeah, he's
The
so
Killers
good.
are a
too.
terrific band.
I
The Killers
love
are
the
a
Killers.
fucking terrific band. Like, they get a lot of love, like, radio-wise, and, like, you know, they're like a pop culture pillar, really. But what a great band. Matt Pinfield would always tell me the story of the 4-song demo that went around the industry, and they recorded it themselves, and it had, like, 4 of the big hits off that first Hot Fuzz record. Like, and that they were, and Matt said to me, he's like, you know, for all their radio success and all that, what the Killers are is a great band. And they really are, dude. It's subtle and slick. Even when it's lyrically way over the top, the band is performing at a level that's, I mean, I think they're such a great band. I'm a huge Killers fan. I love them.
Me too. And I've had this stance for years now, and I get shit about it a lot, but I've said many, many times that I think, as far as major label debuts go, that the Killers' Hot Fuzz holds up better than Nirvana's Nevermind. I don't care what anybody says. To me, it holds up better.
Nevermind's not my favorite Nirvana album, though, to begin with. It never has been.
What's your favorite Nirvana record?
I really enjoy Incesticide.
Incesticide's probably my favorite.
Quite a bit, actually. That and, I mean, I like them all collectively, but I love Incesticide.
I tried to go back and listen to Nevermind in its entirety, and it just did not. Obviously, didn't hit me the same way I did growing up. It didn't have that angst. You know, it came out when I was in high school. You know, it just didn't hit me that same way.
What's funny is as much as I remember loving Nirvana at that period, that version, I look back and listen to some of that music, and I'll read like his unauthorized autobiographies and watch the documentaries and that. It's like, I don't know how I ever identified with that guy. As a Midwestern kid who had a pretty okay upbringing, like, I don't know how I identified with the lyrics he was writing. Like, if I'm being completely honest, Foo Fighters is a band as an adult that I adore and love a hell of a lot more. I'm not saying that I don't like Nirvana. I don't know why I got on that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's like, you know, that's art, and different things speak to different people, and different things land for you in different ways. Like, you know, depending on what stage of your life you're at. I certainly like the Foo Fighters. I like the Foo Fighters a lot. I can't say it's two different birds to me. It's hard to even compare them for me, because even though, you know, there's obviously this connection, but like, to me, it's just different times. When I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit and I was in fucking 7th grade, it was undeniable. I knew at that moment the world just changed. It came on MTV. Everyone was talking about it already at school that day, and I knew, because no one talked about rock music. I went to a school where you got beat up if you even listened to rock music. You had like 2 of like the other poor kids in like Iron Maiden shirts, and they got beat up for it. And like, one day I was going to stake my flag in the ground. I wore a Led Zeppelin shirt, and as I'm on the bus, I was like Job from Arrested Development.
I've made a huge mistake.
And I just got smacked around for it. Dude, to the point where, like, okay, that CNC Music Factory song, whatever.
Make him sweat?
Yeah, well, how does it go?
I think it's make you sweat. Trying to get a nut.
To move your butt,
Good,
hands in
yeah.
the floor.
Good vibration.
Everybody over here, everybody over
No, that's
there.
Marky Mark, dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. The
Yes,
Funky Bunch
and
never
Funky
gets
Bunch.
any love. What are they
No.
doing now?
Yeah.
What's the... Everybody dance now.
No.
Okay, Borat.
So-
In the beginning of the song, the album cut, there's a guitar solo. It's like... Right? And at the school dance, a guitar came on and all the kids plugged their ears. Because a guitar came on, they were like, ew, what is this? And then CNC Music Factory started, and they were like, oh, all right. And they were all doing the Running Man and shit. Like, rock music was not a part of, like, my middle school. And all of a sudden, everyone is talking about this Nirvana song, or at least everyone, like, you know, in earshot of me. And I went home, and it came right on MTV, and I knew it. I knew the world just changed. And then all my brother's friends who were in high school and were, you know, miles cooler than anybody in my middle school. They were artists, they were creators, they were musicians. They loved it. And then it was a really classic, great time in music. Pearl Jam, Nirvana, you know, the whole thing. Soundgarden. Yeah, dude. Like, oh, Alice, yeah, what a great time to be alive.
Everybody got a podcast. Everybody is a critic, but nobody will admit it. Everybody going live now. Everybody want it right now.